Good afternoon. About to say good morning. Crazy day. Good afternoon, or let's probably should say evening now, right? Everyone, appreciate everyone that's tuning in. Everybody that will be tuning in. Got a little bit of a late start today, but it's all good. Just wanted to try to iron out a couple of wrinkles, but it's live, baby. Something crazy always happens when it's live. But so appreciate everyone hopping in to check out the NFL Matchup Madness. For all the reps that are here, or excuse me, contributors, because you're not reps, you are contributors. Um, Make sure you hop into the comments on YouTube. Let everybody know where they can find you. You can do it after your show. You can do it before you go. Whenever you have an opportunity. So we're gonna go ahead and just jump right into things. Meat and potatoes. This is a whole show of meat and potatoes. Really, the vegetables and the hors d'oeuvres and the sides and the desserts and all that for somewhere else. This is meat and potatoes. So I am joined by your contributor for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yo, what is up?
What is going on, man? So, Peyton, let us know, man. Talk to us a little bit about, what went on this past week with your game, and what do you think you could take from that game to improve for this coming week?
Yeah, definitely, man. This week was a tough one. We should be 2-0. Two things beat us, man. We had a wide receiver who got mossed at the end of the first half, and then the punter that we got from New England, the punt returner we got from New England, just happens to blotch the punt, receiving that punt, man, and gave him the ball like right there to score. So that's the game in a nutshell, man. Then they just closed it out on us by running the ball at the end of the game, man. There's definitely a change. TJ's out. When TJ's out, we got to try to do a lot of different things in order to, try to get the same contribution from the team. But it didn't happen. Matt was back there all day to throw the ball. We got no pressure on. I don't even think he was hit this week, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Interesting game for you guys. Now this week, of course, you've got the matchup with the Browns.
Yeah.
So how do you think things are going to roll for Pittsburgh this week?
Yeah, we're AFC North football, man. So we love it. We're looking forward to it early in the season. It's our second test. We beat Cincy, so the Battle of Ohio, man. And without number 7 back there who owned the Browns, it's going to be interesting to see what Mitch does. Our offense is just sputtering. So listening to Mitch conversation today, he realized he has to be able to throw that ball down the field. He's taking too many easy passes. So I think if he does that, that opens that defense up for Najee to get to running that ball. And that could get our offense going. On defense, though, their running game is the best, I think, in the NFL. That double, triple hitter that they have going on there is outstanding. And we have some issues against the run. New England was able to close it out on us with like a 6-7 minute drive, just running the ball and little short passes to close us out. So this will be definitely a challenge for us, but we're going to go in focused. We're going to make Jacoby have to throw that ball a little bit. Amari Cooper finally showed himself. He got off the milk carton, so so now we know he's there a little bit. Cooper is running around somewhere, so I think this is going to be a tough challenge for us. But I think we'll be able to pull it out, man. Close game, 21-17, somewhere around that area of score. I don't see a blowout one way or the other. But they're tough. They're definitely tough. That running game, man, is definitely everything.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely agree, man. They have quite the running game. Not so much this past week, though. As I do have one of their backs, not their starter, but Kareem Hunt, on my fantasy team. I always kind of throw him in like a flex position because I feel like he has the potential to have a good game every week. But funny story about that game, I picked up Amari Cooper because found out kind of last minute that Keenan Allen wasn't going to play.
Yeah.
So I was just scrolling through and I was about to pick up like Donovan Peoples-Jones or like Ray Dortch. I was like, So I'm scrolling down. I was like, oh, wait a minute. Amari Cooper. Why not? He's a number 1 receiver. Who knows? He should be able to give me at least by 10, 15 points. Plugged him in. solid game, outscored the other guys, and he will be occupying one of those flex positions for a while until he plays himself out of it.
Yeah, I think that, you know, we talked about this before the season. You know, we were talking about the record for Cleveland, and if they could just maintain, which it look like they'll be in every game. That running game and their defense is pretty decent. Just in time for Deshaun to get back, we'll see. You know, that could be a scary team in this AFC North.
Yeah.
But right now, I think early in the season, if we're going to get them, this is probably the time for us to get them. But I think later in the season, it might be a little bit more difficult because at that point, I think we'll have a rookie quarterback plan. I don't see Mitch finishing out the season. He just doesn't seem to be able to make decisive throws down the field. If you tell me as a quarterback that you got to force yourself to throw the ball down the field, then I'm not sure who you are. You need to be a backup.
I hear you, man. I definitely hear you. So talk to me real quickly, man. What do you think that Cleveland would be able to do to win this game?
To win at ball control, you got to keep our defense tired. We you know, our defense is legit. Our defense is real. That is a real defense that they're going to go up against top 5 easily. But if they could get that running game going and keep them on the field and get us on some 3 and outs, our offense, which right now we're prone to do. We're growing. A lot of young people on our offense, a lot of new pieces on our offense. So, you know, they're not going to gel right away. But if you could get them in some 3 and outs, get that defense back on that field, maybe a couple turnovers, that's going to be that's the recipe to beat us this year. At least right now. We'll see how it goes down the road a little bit. But I think we'll keep it close, and I think Mitch will pull it out at the end. And there we go. We'll be 2-1.
Okay. And lastly, Peyton, what can Pittsburgh do to ensure that they win this game on Sunday?
We got to stop playing cautious. We have to open it up. We have too much talent on offense to throw 3-yard passes. That's what we were doing last year to try to save Ben for his last year, right? But with Najee back there, you have Pickens, you have Johnson, Deontay, who's balling out, Claypool, right? We have a plethora of talent that has to have the opportunity. Oh, Pat, right? Our tight end with Pat. There's opportunities. Yeah, Fireproof. He's there. And Pickett, Pickett, our wide receiver, George, he just said he's open 90% of the time. So if we could just drop him the ball every so often, we got a rookie of the year in the making. And Deontay's killing them. Like, we have a good squad. Our quarterback is the question because he'll rather take the check down and not risk the turnover versus giving them an opportunity and get that interception. So if he starts throwing it downfield, I think that's the recipe we need in order to win and for this Matt Canada's offense to start looking like it's supposed to look.
Definitely, man. Definitely dig it. Appreciate you hopping on. I know it's always a little bit tricky when you just the guy that sets everything off, but definitely appreciate you, hopping on with us and getting everything going. And again, man, don't forget, Peyton, make sure you hop in the comments on YouTube and just let everybody know where they can find you.
Will do. I appreciate it as always, brother. I'll see you next time.
No doubt. And now we're going to bring on the first lady of the NFL Matchup Madness. So, Val, what's good? What's going on?
What's happening? I'm not celebrating victory this week. It's all good though. No need to panic. But we lost to them Bucks. Whatsoever.
Hey,
they got out there fighting and everything. What can I say? But I wasn't. We lost by 10 points, and we had 5 turnovers, and 10 of those points was from a pick 6. So we should have got beat worse than what it is. So therefore, I'm not gonna panic. Jameis had a terrible game, and like I was saying from the beginning, if Jameis is off, that's just the whole that just messes us up all the way. I mean, because we had him first half, we was good. Brady was frustrated; he couldn't get anything going. Their run game was stalled. We had it, and then we had a momentum swing. As soon as Ingram fumbled the ball, everything collapsed. We went downhill fast, and like I said, they got to fighting. It was just yeah. So we started playing catch up, and then Jameis is not real good playing catch up. So yeah, we got stuck. Son was throwing balls. It's like, okay, back to Tampa, Jameis. It got ugly real quick.
Yeah, it's not the guy that you want to see, but sometimes it happens, right? I mean, bad games are going to happen. He's got the fractures in his back. It's probably difficult to learn how to play. I mean, I don't know why you would clear someone to play with that many fractures in their back, but hey, I'm not a medical professional. I guess
That's
from what I heard,
thing. Like, is he okay? Like, is he all right to go? I mean, we got our backup is Andy Dalton. Not a terrible choice for backup, but I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't want him out there playing hurt and he gets hurt worse. And we only signed him to a 1-year contract. He'll be done. You know what I'm saying? If he screw up his back like that, that's probably it for old boy. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's all good. We took that L. Moving forward, we'll see him again. And I mean, I was really upset that we didn't get this win because they were without so many stars. There was no Godwin, no Julio Jones. They missing like 2 of their offensive linemen, I think. And it was just, we should have struck while it was as easy as it's gonna get. But it happens. NFL, any given Sunday. We're not in panic mode, like I said. It's still very, very early. But we out here. On to the next. On to these Panthers. The Panthers, I don't know. They don't really. I don't know if they found any strengths yet because we don't know what we're gonna get out of Baker Mayfield. I mean, their offensive threats obviously is Christian McCaffrey, but I mean, that guy has a long history of getting hurt, so he probably like a half a game away from seeing some blue 10 action. So ain't no telling. But you got to account for that guy. He's a phenomenal football player. And when he's on the field, you got to look out for him. Robbie Anderson, he been playing some good ball. Not seeing too much out of DJ Moore, which I'm shocked. But Robbie Anderson has been looking good so far. I mean, but other than that, I mean, like I said, Baker Mayfield, I don't know. You don't know what you're gonna get from son. We'll just have to see. I mean, he's obviously beatable. I don't know. He up there. And
Val,
yeah.
Quick question for you. So, the Panthers rep feels like he's running from you, right?
All that talking he was doing, son.
Yeah. We were on play callers, and he had a lot of confident things and very confident about how the Panthers were going to do this and they were going to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He hadn't been really showing up. I'm thinking he might be a little nervous about
he definitely nervous because like what it was 3 weeks ago before the season started. Oh yeah, the Panthers winning the NFC South. No one believes that. The Panthers.
He couldn't have believed that. Period.
Right?
Yeah,
like, come on, son. Y'all not winning the division. You know, y'all be lucky if y'all come out third. But
agreed.
Nah, he running. I mean, I don't see them beating us. I just feel like probably the key to our win is to go back to the run game because we abandoned the run as soon as Mark Ingram fumbled, and it was working for us. We was doing great, but I think if we keep the run, we'd be good because Nick Chubb had a day on them the first week. Like he ran all over them boys, and Saquon didn't have a really bad game. He had a decent game, so I feel like we need to stick to the run, keep them honest, and I think we good with that.
I hope that. So.
We need a dub.
Now, Val, quickly for you, what do you think the Panthers can do, to win this game? What would be the one possible path they may have to win this game?
Maybe if they could get out in front early, get a lead because like I said, we're not really playing good coming up from behind. Like Winston makes dumb bonehead choices whenever he's playing catch up. Yeah, he might not be the answer. But I mean that's what we stuck with. And until he sit out or whatever, we ain't gonna see no Andy Dalton. So we stuck with Jameis. And I mean if they get out ahead and we have to play catch up, it's probably gonna get ugly real quick. Cause that guy is not good. He's not clutch. But that's my QB. I'm gonna stick beside him.
I see the comment. Baker can be good, a little bit better than average. I think it just depends on the week, the matchup, and how his weapons are playing. I think, like you said earlier, the big thing with them is, well, let's see this. We got this here. You don't want to see Andy Dalton, and don't forget that Jameis did bring them back against the Falcons.
He did, but that ain't gonna be every game. Everybody across the league know that that's not gonna be every game. That's not Jameis at all. Like this guy really gets nervous and start trying to air it out and just doing craziness. When pretty much all of those interceptions he had Sunday, the check down was there for the first down. Why are you airing it out when y'all ain't been connecting all game? Now you done got picked off. Like, come on, son. Like, make smarter choices. And that's from him playing catch up.
Yeah, you want to be in a manageable game when you have a quarterback like Jameis, because he's a guy that I think he learned from Sean Payton how to do things a little bit different. But at the same time, I think you don't want him to go back to that gunslinger mentality, which he definitely did for you guys on Sunday. Yeah. It happens. I mean, it's one game. It doesn't break your season. It doesn't stop anything. It's just, you need to improve. Andy Dalton might be, somebody that can help you guys out down the road if needed. If so, bad. If not, hey, man, it's going to be all good either way because you still get to play the Falcons again. So, you got to win there. You get 2 games against the Panthers. So, you got some winnable games, at least those on the schedule, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I mean, our schedule get a little rough down the stretch outside of our division. It's kind of bad, bro. So, hey, I don't know.
Dalton might be the guy. I mean, he's always playing for his next backup / fringe starter gig. So at least if you put him out there, he's somebody that will probably help you out. I don't think it'll be a worse quality game. So that's always, a positive as well.
Yeah, I definitely don't think he'd be worse.
Yeah, definitely wouldn't be worse. So Val, appreciate you coming on again. Definitely we'll see you next week. Don't forget to hop in YouTube and just let everybody know where they'll be able to find you at.
Bet. And tell that boy when you see that boy, come back next week because I want to holler at him.
We're gonna see. He been a little MIA the past 2 weeks. He showed up for a little bit last year, then ran before the game. So I don't know what's going on. I guess it's hard out here talking trash as a guy covering the Panthers right now. So it is what it is.
All right, bro. Thanks for having me again.
No doubt. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and swing to the next game. Everybody, we're gonna bring on my man Mike Patton, covering the Titans. The gentleman that was covering the Raiders doesn't look as available right now. It's all good. It happens. So, Mike, appreciate you for showing up, being able to talk the Titans with us. So, talk to me, man. What's the deal with the Titans? What we got going on with the Titans, man? I think you're on mute.
I said, what isn't going on with the Titans right now? I mean, honestly, looking at them, couldn't, sustain blocks to get Derrick Henry running. Couldn't really get anything going consistently in the passing game outside Treylon Burks, which, people were so worried about him, but he's playing just fine. And then, all those different things that are just going on with the defense being out on the field so long, and it is what it is. And I see this Hat, Tats, and Stats podcast. It isn't King Henry looking suspect, actually. What it is the guards on that team are not holding up their end of the bargain. So they can't go anywhere. And also the other thing is when they're trying to run a pitch, the thing is they're not securing the corner. So Derrick Henry has no chance to turn his shoulders and get square to the line of scrimmage. When he has them arrow to the sideline when he's catching the pitch and trying to turn up the field, and if he's able to turn up the field, then yes, he's going to make some plays happen. But he's not able to turn up the field because the plays get blown up immediately. So of course he's not going to look as great as he usually does because he's getting touched in the backfield literally every play. So I don't buy the King Henry looking suspect thing. No, I think the offensive line has been more suspect than Henry has.
Now, I will say from watching myself, I have to at least have some level of agreement with you. They even talked about it during the game. The thing with him is he needs to be able to square up. He needs to be able to get going. And if he can't do that, his run style is not going to work. And then what's happening is he's having to cut. He's having to do different things besides be able to use his straight line power and speed. And that's a big body. So when you're trying to stop and then restart, it's more difficult than when you have a smaller back or a back with a smaller frame. So I think that's at least part of the issue. I mean, I won't say it's the entirety of the issue, but that's at least part of the issue.
Other issue is play calling as well, but that's another story for another day too. Or if you want to talk about that one, we can. But
it's a couple of tricky pieces. I'll definitely give you there's a couple of tricky things that need to kind of be handled. I think they'll be handled throughout the season. I think we see the Henry we know at some point during the season if they can get the offensive line straightened out.
Yeah.
So, Mike, talk to me real quick about what you think you guys did well, if anything, yesterday.
Oof. Well, I would say this: the first series that they played was actually very perfectly called by Todd Downing. They were mixing in the pass, mixing in the run. Looked like a lot of things looks pretty solid, but when after that, everything just went to crap. After that, it just went to crap. Basically, they couldn't do all the things they wanted. They did stop them a couple times defensively, which I thought was pretty excellent. They didn't really get a pass rush. That was a consistent pass rush during the game. That was another thing that's bad. But as far as good things, the first quarter, I would say they kind of played solid football. The first drive offensively. Defensively, they had a few things, but when you're playing that many rookies at cornerback, then especially against Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen, they're going to get you at least one of those. They're going to get you at least a few times, and they did plenty of times.
Yeah, that definitely saw that happen as well. So when this game coming up against the Raiders, they're having some struggles of their own as well. They're putting up some points, but their defense seems to be a little bit on the soft end right now. Let's be honest, it has been for a few years. It hasn't been terrible, but it's kind of been like, average defense, 15 to 20, somewhere in there. Definitely are some worse defenses, don't get me wrong. But
Right.
What do you think the Raiders can do to beat you guys on Sunday?
As far as the Raiders, I would say win the point of attack. That's what Buffalo did. That's what the Giants did at some points during both games. They won the point of attack. They cause a new line of scrimmage, which means Derrick Henry's getting touched before he can get going, and that means the game is in the hands of Ryan Tannehill. As you saw, when the game was in his hands and not playing off play action, he threw a couple passes right to Buffalo defenders, mainly the play action to Robert Woods coming across the field. He leads Robert Woods. Robert Woods catches that. It's first down. Instead, he throws it behind him. The defensive back picks it off. The other one, Matt Milano picks it off, and he basically ran the route for the defensive back, for the tight end or wide receiver. I can't remember which one it was, but literally he was standing there the entire time, and Ryan Tannehill threw it right to him. So that's going to be a big thing. I would say they also need to get Treylon Burks more involved, because every time he catches the football, he makes plays after the catch. I mean, it was a 3rd and 15, and he got 16 yards. It was another play he caught, and he got a few yards after the catch. He's their best threat after the catch. Him and I believe Kyle Phillips, which I don't think Kyle Phillips was the same player he was the first game. And, of course, they probably need to take him out of the punt return because he muffed punts in 2 straight games. But that's the thing they need to do to win this game, or the Raiders need to do to actually force the Titans to pass the football and in predictable passing situations.
Okay. So moving into this game this week? I know you kind of talked about this a little bit, but just real quick, do you feel that the Raiders are going to be able to score enough to kind of shade some of the issues that they're having defensively? Do you think Carr is going to finally be able to use those weapons, or do you feel like your defense, which I think you have a pretty solid defense in Tennessee, I think that's one of the things Mike Vrabel is going to always hang his hat on, is having a good defense. Do you think that you guys are going to be able to handle things with your defense, and who wins this game and why?
Defensively, I think they'll hang in there. I will say they'll have issues with Davante Adams, especially if Christian Fulton doesn't play. Christian Fulton was actually out this game, who was the top corner for the Tennessee Titans. You got all rookies in there again. Davante Adams is going to have his moments. That's just is what it is, because he's the great wide receiver that he is, with the unique releases, by the way. But I think that, the defense is going to help stay in this game, but I don't know if I can pick the Titans to win this game against the Raiders. The Raiders have been up in both games or had chances to win both games. They just squandered it towards the end. And the thing is, with both teams that they played, both teams got it going in the passing game to beat them. So that's where I'm like, okay, I'm not sure the Titans are that team to beat them in the passing game, and they may just see 0-3. So I see the Las Vegas Raiders winning this game against the Tennessee Titans.
Okay. You heard that from a Titans fan. That's the first, I think. But we'll rock with it. If that's the official, that's the official. I mean, you the fan of the team?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie about it.
I definitely understand, man. Mike, I appreciate you hopping on, giving us your thoughts on both teams. Hopefully next week we'll have a matchup in place for you so you can have a little back and forth banter. But yeah, just like I'm telling everyone else, just make sure you hop on YouTube and let everybody know where they can find you, man. And definitely be looking forward to have you back next week. Yeah,
thank you. And I will tell you, if they're 0-3, it's not going to be too much to banter about there, because they're probably going to be a better team on the other side.
Hey, you never know, man. Somebody else has got to lose too, right?
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
All right, man. We appreciate it. No problem. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go ahead and transition to Big Derek Jones with the Bills and Jeff Hunts with the Dolphins, our first actual matchup this week. Let's go.
All right.
Oh, I am so ready for this. Let's go.
I'm just glad to have somebody else here. Thank you for helping me out here, Derek. This is awesome.
Oh, listen, I enjoy going back.
Derek's
and forth.
always here.
It was great.
Well, it's a tough back and forth. I got a little more leg to stand on than I did about 35 minutes into that game last week, so I feel better. So after last night, I felt a little worse. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Yep. So of course, both of you guys are coming off of big wins, right? So we'll start with you, Jeff. And then same question for you, Derek. What do you think is the important part of your team, or the important group of your team? So like special teams, offense, defense, that's going to need to perform the very best to beat the other team?
It's to this week has got to be our secondary. I'm not going to sit here and act like we're not playing who I think is the best player in the NFL right now, and Josh Allen. He's doing it in every phase. He's picking teams apart. He's seeing the field, like everything that everybody else sees, I see also. So, it's similar. The only thing I can compare it to, and it's apples to oranges really, but the only thing I can think of is going in last year to the Ravens game, and it was kind of the same questions of like, what are the Dolphins going to do? And they came out with a plan against, Lamar and the Ravens, and kind of like completely took them by surprise. And, you basically just went all out, cover zero. Let's see what happens. And it pulled it out. It's kind of a similar thing to where whatever the Dolphins do in defense, I would assume I would hope that it's something the Bills haven't seen on tape, because I think if you give Josh Allen a week on tape, to look at it and predict it, you're really putting yourself, on an uphill climb. So it's got to be the secondary. They got to move. They got to, there might be 2 plays in this game that they absolutely have to make, whether it's a tip ball or whether it's, how many times do we see in the NFL, like that ball hits that secondary guy in the chest and falls to the ground and everybody's like, oh, that could be the difference in the game. And then the next pass is a first down or a touchdown or something like that. The Dolphins cannot give up any of those like extra chances, any of those tip balls, any of those freak fumbles. Like that secondary has to take advantage of anything that Allen is generous enough to give them. It's got to be the secondary.
Derek, same question for you, man.
First off, I don't disagree with you. I mean, if you watched last Thursday, that's exactly what happened to the Chargers, right? They had opportunities to take the ball away and they didn't get it done. And the next play scored. And you can't, Allen's in the same boat, man. You can't do that with him. If he's going to make a mistake, you got to make him pay. As far as what the Bills can do, it's got to be pedal to the metal for 4 quarters. We just found out last week what happens when you only play 3 quarters against a team with this kind of speed and this kind of firepower in the Dolphins. That game was 35-14 going into the 4th, and you lose. Why? Because you took the pedal off, or you took your foot off the pedal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the Bills doing that. I don't think if the Bills are in that position, I don't know if they will be, but if they are, I don't see you don't see Allen get pulled. You don't see the starter sit on the sidelines for a quarter. You see just more go, because it's got to be. Yeah, the Dolphins are too good offensively, and I believe the big answer here is going to be limiting the yards after catch. We saw a couple times, a couple of the longer plays the Titans had were, the guy before us was just talking about it, right? Third and 15, guy catches a 4-yard slant, takes it 16 yards. Can't do that, because a guy like Hill, that 16 turns into 60 real quick. The Bills know that as good as anybody. I think the one thing that the Bills are going to be equipped to do is not having to give the cushion that you have to give a guy like Mahomes, who just has a little bit more of an elite arm talent than Tua does. You can play a little bit closer to the line. Our defensive line is built to get home. We don't have to send blitzes. We can. We've done really well against Tua in blitz situations. He's really struggled with the Bills on that. It's going to be our front hitting home, whether it's a blitz package or not. It's going to be getting him to get rid of the ball and make a quick choice, because I think you're going to see us playing a little bit tighter coverage, a little bit closer to the line to prevent the quick hit and turn it into something big.
Okay. Now, sticking with you, Derek, and then we'll go back to Jeff afterwards. What is the one thing that your team can do to ensure that they do get a win in this game?
Like I said, it's got to be get pressure. It's got to be. You can't give Tua time, because giving Tua time gives those 2 really, really ungodly fast receivers time to get loose.
And that's the key right there. Like Derek, you summed it up right there. It's not about the time. It's not about how long Tua has. It's how long the receivers have, because it breaks down. Like that's a great point.
Covering anybody for 5-6 seconds is tough. I mean, and the same thing goes on the other end. If Miami doesn't get pressure and Josh has time, anybody we have in our receiver room is going to find a way to get open. It's the same thing here. The longer he has to throw, the more time these guys have to get open. And when they get the ball in their hands, they're electric. So it's going to be getting pressure again, whether it's our front 4 or some type of blitz package, blitz scheme, which again, we've had a lot of success against Tua with. It's going to be getting in his face and disrupting his timing.
And I think a lot of something people haven't talked about all week, and this is like I see, as a Dolphins fan, is they don't talk about the defensive game plan. And I think the Ravens, like, I know this sounds simple, but last week I felt like they were playing a right-handed quarterback, and they let Tua escape to the left. Like, you can't let Tua. I mean, I say this as like I'm glad it happened, but I also say it as like an analyst too. Like, that's what we all do here. I'm like, why are you shoving him to the left? He's left-handed. I compare, if you're playing a point guard, left-handed, you're playing a left-handed point guard. Like, you don't force him left. Like, And I don't think the Bills will fall into that. And especially with a guy, the one guy that I look at is Miller, is like, this is the perfect guy to have, in this situation. And I'm like, that's what I see is like, I know I stepped all over cool, but this is the first time I've had to go back and forth. Derek seems like a rational human being. And last week, I know he's thinking like, well, we're not going to let Tua escape to the left. That is the one thing that you can't do. Make him go right. I didn't understand that. So anyway, and as far as what the Dolphins need to do, I think it's simple. The Dolphins could probably come out and play this game and try to get in some kind of fist fight and lose it by 10. And everybody would be like, that's a good team. And they are a good team. I don't think anybody argues the Dolphins have a great roster. Tua's actually the leading passer in the NFL after 2 weeks. So like, that's a plus. I'm not saying he's better than anybody, but it's just the way it is. But if you want to win the game, you got to turn it into a basketball game. You got to bring pressure on defense, and you've got to just keep taking deep shots. I said it last week on your show, Cool. I kept saying it. I'm like, if Tua gets lured into dink and dunk, he can be beat. Last week, McDaniel let him loose, and it worked. Like, they let him throw the ball, and they let him go deep. He's got to keep doing that. You got to keep taking shots. You got to just keep going over the top, because that doesn't always work, and they may lose by 35, but they definitely won't win, if they get conservative and try to eke out, a field goal game against Allen. Right now is playing both sides of it. Allen can play. He can get in a fist fight, or he can go deep. He knows he's got that feeling. He's at that point of his career to where he knows where the kill shot is. He knows when to take a chance. But he also knows when to just run and get 12 yards and break your back. Like, they, if they try to go back and forth with him and muddle it out, it's not going to work. The Dolphins, to win this game, have to just let it fly and hope to win it with a high scoring, high. Neither one of these teams run the ball. Like, their leading rushers have 67 yards. Both teams, their leading rusher for the season is 67 yards. This game is going to be played through the air. It's basketball on grass. That's Miami's only chance. And as of now, Tua has proved that maybe, just maybe, he's on a hot streak.
Okay, definitely makes sense. Definitely can dig that. So, gentlemen, any last words before the game?
All I want to say is this is weird. Since I've become an analyst like 4 years ago, like I'm 47 years old now. I grew up through the years of the Marino Kelly wars, all this stuff. I absolutely despise the Buffalo Bills. That being said, I hate watching them and being like, this is the kind of team I like. This is I can't just have pure hatred anymore like I used to. The Patriots, I can still pretty much just hate the helmets, but the Bills, like, I'm like, I don't know, you've done everything right. I love your quarterback. I love everything else. It's weird. And, but there's no moral victories. Like, whoever wins this game is damn near put themselves in the playoffs. So as far as a week 3 huge game, this reminds me of going back in the day, Kelly versus Marino. Anything can happen. We saw last week, anything can happen in the NFL. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say the Bills are going to smash the Dolphins, because the Bills are going to lose a game. We don't know when. I don't think they're going to lose. They're not going to lose a lot.
Absolutely drunk. It was disgusting.
Yeah, they're not going to lose a lot of games, but they got to lose one. We'll say they got to lose one. I hope that this helps us pop the champagne, and I hope the Dolphins are on some kind of miracle run right here instead of waiting 7 games into the season to do it.
I can tell you that's probably my most hated tradition in sports, but that's another story for another time.
I don't blame you. It is terrible. I don't even like it, but I love it.
This is as excited as I've been for an AFC East matchup in a long time. Like, last year after the Monday night game, the no passing game from New England, whatever, and getting the revenge and almost.
I do want to say our other chance is that the winds kick up to 70 miles per hour, and we can slow Josh Allen.
Get the remnants of that hurricane coming through. But I mean, you knew even after that game, you knew the Bills were the better team.
Yeah.
This is as excited as I've been for an AFC East matchup in almost forever. This is I'm so pumped. I'm excited. And it's going to be, I hope it's the slugfest we think it's going to be. I really do.
Yeah, we deserve it. We deserve it. After all these years, I want both these teams to be good. I want both these teams to be good again. And that also means we bury the Patriots. Like, let's just work together and bury the Patriots and then go back to worry about hating each other.
I mean, I can get along with that program, definitely. But
I know I wanted more, but I just can't help it. I like watching the Bills play. I'm not saying I don't want to win, but gosh darn.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you guys hopping on this week.
You, man.
Absolutely. And don't forget to go hop over on YouTube. Let everybody know where to find you. And good luck on the game. And we'll catch you both next week.
Good luck.
Hey, go Bills.
Yes, sir. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and bring on the team after next rep that I have on so far. And that's going to be Joseph Jenkins. But before we get to our game, I'm going to do a quick coverage of the game that the reps are not here for. That's okay. And that's going to be the Lions and the Vikings. So I'll put it to you real simply. So take 2 or 3 minutes. Those guys are not here. They're professionals, but I watch football. So we can make a quick talk. So essentially what we're going to have in this game is we're going to have a Lions team that's a lot better than most people anticipated. They've shown that they can be pretty solid on defense, even week 1 against my Philadelphia Eagles. But again, last week against the Commanders, they showed how good they can play when needed. So that's a very important piece of all of this. Also, the Vikings look really good week 1. Kirk Cousins did not look really good in week 2. So it's just a matter of which one of those 2 Vikings teams are going to show up. My estimation would be that the Vikings are actually somewhere in the middle. I think this is going to be another really good, solid game. 2 1-1 teams, 2 teams that someone's going to keep pace if they win this game with Green Bay, if Green Bay also wins. Based on having played these 2 teams and the slight bit of expertise I have, I'm going to have to say I think that the Lions are going to win this game because I think they just have a little bit more like just moxie, a little bit more heart, a little bit more, even if we get down, we can come back. And I think when you look at the other team involved, it's not the same thing. So I think that's where you're going to get the difference in who you have. And that's why I'm going to go ahead and go with the Lions to be the team to win this. But I do think it will be a close game as the Vikings are better than they were last week. But I just think the Lions are really hot right now. I don't know if it'll last all season, but I think this is like their top end of play. So I think that they're going to be the ones to go ahead and get this dub this week. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and now have Joseph hop in and give us some thoughts on his Ravens, as well as I'll also ask him a question or 2 here, depending on how time looks, about the Patriots as well. So, Joseph, appreciate you hopping on, man.
Oh, thanks for having me, man. Sorry about the whole, if you hear the music and stuff in the back at the gym, man. How you doing today?
Doing pretty good, man. We can only see half your face, man.
How about now? That's what I'm trying to be. Is that better?
Yes. Yeah, it's better. All right.
Okay.
So first question for you, man. Based on your first 2 games, what do you think that you guys can improve on or bring with you to try to get a win in this game against the Patriots?
You know, it's interesting because everybody looks at that game against Miami and sees 6 touchdown passes, breakdowns in coverage, and thinks, okay, the sky is falling. I just think the Ravens need to just stay the course. You know, the offense is there, and we don't even have our dynamic run game there. And I think if we can just kind of control the clock a little bit more, if our pass rush gets together, half of the issues that we had on defense are going to be resolved. And we got Mac Jones coming up, who against Pittsburgh looked pretty pedestrian, but Pittsburgh had a pass rush. They kept getting to the quarterback. You know, they kept bottling him up and causing him to make errant throws. And I think that's the key to the Ravens, man. We need our pass rush to come through. But we interviewed JPP this week because we're thin at pass rush.
Okay. Now, so talk to me about what mind frame you think the Ravens are going to be in after that comeback that you guys allowed this past week.
You learn the most about yourself when you have the hardest failures and in games of professional football. This kind of hurts as much as, the 2011 AFC title game, for the simple fact of the matter is the team was in control for, I don't know, 50 of the 60 minutes. They were in control. If you watch that game and you've seen it from start to finish, it looked like Baltimore was about to just run away with it like they have in the times past against teams like Miami and things like that. But when they failed, they got to look deep in themselves and realize that they let this one slip. And now they got to deal with the criticisms of everybody, talking about what's going on with the Ravens. And then on the opposite side, you don't even talk about Lamar's game because Tua had a better game. And I think for people on my team who really want Lamar to succeed and grow, the defense got to buckle down, And I'm not too worried about it, though, because defensive lapses, miscommunication, that can be fixed with time. You had rookies coming in. Marlon didn't play the last two series, coincidentally, for touchdowns from Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And so when you have rookies like Jaden Armour-Davis from Alabama and you have Kyle Hamilton out there, they're still learning. Rookie mistakes are going to be like this. It's tragic, but I think they're in good spirits. They got to let it go because it's a long season ahead. This could be more devastating if it was like week 15 or week 14 compared to week 2. You have plenty of time to turn it around. And it's not as if Baltimore doesn't have so many good things to talk about to kind of build on. They just have little things here and there they got to squeak out. They're going to be all right. You're going to be all right.
Okay, so we have been joined by our Patriots rep, so we're going to get him in here in one quick second and have us a little conversation here. Let's see. Gotta do something. 1 second, guys.
I hope my headphones is blocking out the music that's kind of coming in.
All right, let's do this. Here we go.
This is more than arm's length, I can tell you that. Oh, never mind, you're right. It's about arm's length.
Had a little quick technical difficulty here, but we got it straightened. I got it straightened out. So here we go. Okay. So, Barry, talk to me about what we're going to be able to do here to get things happening for the Patriots this week.
Yeah, I think for sure. It certainly starts with, their defense. I think their defense has to be able to keep them in the game and kind of, not let Lamar Jackson and that, Ravens offense go too crazy and go off and get going and put up a lot of points because we, seen that, they certainly are capable of scoring a lot of points and putting, points up on the board. And certainly we don't have a, really high-powered offense and an offense that can, score a lot of points as of right now. So, and particularly with the offense still trying to figure things out and trying to get used to running this new offense that they, have instilled, it, definitely is going to take some time for them to be able to, have games where they're able to score a lot of points. So, and then it seems like they're not quite there just yet, and they're still a long ways from that. So I think that, the defense is going to have to, play really well like they have the first 2 weeks, and they're going, to certainly be, have to be able to at least, help the Patriots keep it close, within the fourth quarter. I think, their capable of doing that. I think certainly, because I think the Patriots, this is their home opener, so they're going to be fired up and and ready to go, and they're going to be excited to play in front of their home fans. So I think they'll certainly come out ready to play. And won't get off to a slow start like we've seen them get off to in the first couple of games on the road. But as far as whether they're going to win this game, I'm not, I can't confidently say on whether they're going to win, this game, just because like they have so much question marks and uncertainty on offense that's we still have yet to be answered. And and I don't feel as that they can score enough points. Like if the Patriots defense doesn't have a good game and Baltimore is able to put points, I don't think the Patriots can keep up with the Ravens offensively if they do end up scoring a lot of points, like in the 30s instead of even in like the late 20s. So it's certainly going to have to be a low scoring defensive game for the Patriots have a chance to win. Because offensively they're they don't really have much going for them. I think they're gonna have to be able to run the football. Hopefully their offensive line can be able to play well. They certainly played well last week. They played well this week, but last week there was much better performance from the O-line. So the O-line's certainly gonna have to be a big part of the Patriots' success if they do end up winning this game. And think that and certainly Mac Jones is gonna have to make some plays in the passing games and make some big throws, and
definitely, man,
step up for them to win.
Yeah, definitely. So Judge will give you the last word here. So what do you think that the Ravens are going to need to be able to do to make sure that they secure themselves a win on Sunday?
So something to look out for. J.K. Dobbins most likely will be making his debut against this Patriots team. And the Patriots' interior run defense is not that good. And the meat of the Ravens' offensive line is within the A and B gaps between the guards and the center. So I think we stay the course. And I think if we can get up ahead with J.K. Dobbins coming back, I think unlike last week, we'll be able to control the tempo, control the clock when we get up big, to make sure New England doesn't make a comeback. And I think on defense, you got to be able to just don't get beat deep. Don't have a Nelson Aguilar moment against different secondary back there. I'm calling for a third straight game for Marcus Williams to get an interception and lead the league from 3 interceptions to 4. So Baltimore is there. They just have a couple things early on they realize they got to figure out. I don't see the Patriots stopping Lamar Jackson, because one thing I realized about Lamar Jackson in the first 2 games is in times past when the pocket breaks down, he moves around, but he's always looking to run. This time, he is always going through his reads. He went through his first, second, third, fourth, and fifth read. So he's showing as to be a more polished quarterback. And I think that if we just stay the course with J.K. Dobbins coming back, this should be a bounce back victory and going to put up a great showdown for the week after.
Okay. Well, perfect, guys. I appreciate you both being able to hop on tonight, discuss the teams.
Absolutely.
Look forward to having you guys back next week.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
And then make sure you hop onto the YouTube and just let everybody know where they can find you. Looks like we're going back to the solo here with Kyle. We're going to go ahead and drop in here next. Kyle, what's going on, man?
Good to see you, Cool. Glad to be aboard here doing the thing with you guys, and looking forward to talking some football, brother.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I just want to say, man, welcome to the team, man. I know this is going to be your first one here, so hate that we didn't get the other rep on so you have a matchup the first time, but that's okay. I think you'll be able to handle things, and I think we'll be good to go.
Oh, 100%. And listen, I have plenty of positive things to say for the Chargers as well. There's no question for that.
Yeah, it's something that's doesn't take a lot of. It's not difficult to be able to give some quality thoughts here. So, in regards to the Jags and the Chargers, talk to me first about the Jags. Talk to me about this weekend, what you guys did well and what you think you'll be able to carry over into this game.
And listen, if you want to look at this game for X's and O's going into Los Angeles, I would tell you straight up, don't. Cool. This is not anything like what you see when you go to Los Angeles as the Jaguars compared to Matt Ryan and the Colts. Listen, I understand that the Jags beat Phillip Rivers when he was a Colt here previously in Jacksonville, but that has nothing to do with these two teams' makeups. Sure, Austin Eckler may not be as good a running back as Jonathan Taylor, but I can guarantee you Justin Herbert, and even with some bad ribs potentially, we'll see how that's going, is probably going to deliver a better performance than Matt Ryan in his twilight era age. I mean, goodness, cool. Did you see the last touchdown that Herbert threw against the Chiefs? It might have been the best looking touchdown ball in the game, and the dude was already hurt. For the Jags, listen, it's the big thing they have to do first and foremost that they need to carry over is defensive pressure. Because every quarterback does bad when he's pressured, sure, but that offensive line for the Chargers is better than it's ever been. That being said, the Chargers' biggest problem, injuries. Jacksonville has to take advantage of this. Sure, we've acknowledged Justin Herbert, who might be potentially the most underrated quarterback in the league, not named Derek Carr. But over and above that, offensive line injuries. I believe their center is questionable. What's Keenan Allen's status? He missed last week. Now, granted, they had guys stand up, and that defensive backcourt will be challenged. But while the number's a little deceiving, there's a reason why, they have more interceptions this year compared to last year. Well, they had 7 all year. They got 5 already, man. Again, part of that is the competition of playing Carson Wentz and Matt Ryan in the twilight state. But I think that pressure piece is where it gets started. I talked to Arden Key, a linebacker in the locker room, who said that first turnover set the tone for the defense and gave a sense of belief to that squad.
Definitely makes sense. Definitely makes sense. So, say a lot about both teams. So appreciate you kind of, giving that info on both teams there. So what do you think each team can do? And I'll just let you answer both of the question for both teams. What do you think each team can do to win? And what would be that one group, whether it be special teams, offense, defense, that has to really shine for either team to win?
When you have as many injuries as you do on offense, the answer to me for the Chargers, and nobody would have expected this in this situation in the week 3, defense is going to be the key against the Jaguars. Why don't you just blow them out with points? Oh, how weeks change things, right? In this case, the Chargers defense, I think, has to make the difference, right? Bosa and the secondary, all those guys have to step up and do their thing. Derwin James is a pretty legit member of the secondary. As much as we hear about Minkah Fitzpatrick, that same draft class produced Derwin James. That's an excellent conduit you have at more than one level of the defense, and being prepared for the concept that Trevor Lawrence is no longer going to be a riverboat gambler slinging the ball as far as he possibly can and hoping that Marvin Jones can catch it or that Laviska Shenault won't drop it. Shenault's a Carolina Panther, and as much as fans claim they overpaid that receiver core to acquire Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, they're a lot more stout. Evan Ingram at tight end, by the way, another thing. You don't have coaches sabotaging the team and keeping James Robinson out of the backfield. So for me, making sure that things aren't kept close for that defense or by that defense for the Chargers is the most important. Now for the Jaguars, the most important thing for them, and I hate giving this answer, but in this case, I think it applies. It's the intangibles. You see all the injuries that I mentioned here before that, and talking to the guys, I listened to Andre Sisco's press conference. I think it was Monday, and they said something I didn't hear a lot going through 2021. We believed we could win. This belief concept was something that, depending on who you listen to and believe, last year with Urban Meyer at the helm, well, the Jags were mired in bad football and bad tides and vibes throughout the entire year. So this belief concept already makes them dangerous. They're one play away from being 2-0. Who can blame them on that front? And now with the shine of first place, which granted is week 2, even Arden Key says, let's not make too much of it, but it's just enough to notice how much of a turnaround you have between the worst coaching performance in NFL history versus being supported by a Super Bowl winning coach in one Doug Peterson. I see your cap there, cool. I know you know a little bit about what I'm talking about on that one.
Oh, yes, sir. Good coach. Good coach. Just got to make sure he has the right staff around him.
100%. And I think we're seeing elements of that at least so far. So long as Trevor, who I can argue is basically having a second rookie season based on what he was asked to do last year, as long as he keeps control within the offense, doesn't look to get too greedy, almost threw a pick because of said greed, and keeps finding Christian Kirk, that'll be good. The occasional he's good for at least one first down run for the entire 10 yards per game so far. I like that they're throwing that in there. You know, kind of a, let's say, I don't want to go Carson Wentz, but let's just say Trevor is mobile, but he's not a mobile quarterback. There's a difference, right? If they keep mixing that up, maintaining that balance, if James Robinson and Travis Etienne can be mixed in on the ground to make an impact, and most importantly, no mistakes. Sure, no mistakes is important in any football game, but for my money, that balance first and foremost. If the Jags are balanced offensively in the first half, and it's a game going into the second, those intangibles are going to start to kick into gear. And if Herbert starts semi-injured, and it's not out of hand, all the more pressure, and things may just accidentally break the wrong way. I say all that, but I still got the Chargers winning. Now, granted, they're 7 points on the line right now. I'll take those 7 points and bet the Jags on this. But yeah, I mean, listen, I picked the Chargers to win the division. We saw Herbert make great throws being hurt Thursday. You know, as many good things I see from the Jags, I think the Chargers are just too much of a test at this point.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. So you're saying that you do think the Chargers are going to win, but you think the game will be closer than 7 points. So if you're betting, you would put your money on the Jags.
I would. That's a lot of points to get. Cool, wouldn't you say? I think
that's reasonable, right? I think that's reasonable for what I've seen from Jacksonville. And like I said, I like your head coach. I know he's a guy that can help develop a young quarterback. You just got to watch and make sure you can keep him steady year 3, 4, and 5. It's kind of where things started to hit the rail for him. The first couple of years from, his history, he's been fine. So I think you will see a lot more of Trevor Lawrence, as you were saying. I think he's going to be a much better quarterback. And like you said, it's kind of like a second rookie season because his first season got wasted by the embarrassment that was Urban Meyer.
Mired an embarrassment, cool? Yes, maybe.
I can roll with it.
And let me add that too, real quick. You mentioned Peterson as a coach. There are doubts surrounding the coaching for the Chargers. Before Nathaniel Hackett did what he did in week 1, he was seen as possibly the weakest coach in the division going in to week 1. And, I wonder how much he'll be able to adjust with all the injuries going on in offense. But to his credit, being a defensive coach, I think he might have a bit more insight with the pieces he has on defense to keep Lawrence and company under control. And the most important thing I should mention for health, the Jags are healthy. Travis Etienne's on the field. Left tackle Cam Robinson isn't hurt yet. There's a lot of things that are going positive for the Jags right now, and they're riding the wave, man. They have the momentum.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good. So, Kyle, definitely appreciate you hopping in for us and taking over the Jags. Definitely look forward to have you on for the rest of the season. Look forward to seeing you next week. And definitely make sure you hop on YouTube and let everybody know where they can find you.
Hey, listen, honor, joy, and privilege to join the team. Cool. I had a lot of fun doing it. Looking forward to the next one. Of course, you can find me on Twitter at the 𝐿SOTG. Check me on Instagram as the same, the 𝐿SOTG, and check me out on Facebook as the student of the game and my Jaguars writings with the 3-point conversion.
All right, we're going to go ahead and hop over to our next solo matchup here. Ty, what's going on, man?
What's going on, man? Feeling good after a big win last week against the Chargers.
I hear that. And Ty is also making your debut here on the NFL Matchup Madness. So thanks for stepping in and taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem at all, man. So talk to me about your game last week, what you can take from that game, and your week 1 game as well, moving forward to kind of help your team possibly get a win here against the Colts in week 3.
So I think the key, everybody knows this, the key to beating the Colts is to slow down Jonathan Taylor, one of the top running backs in the NFL. And if you look at the Chiefs' rushing defense, the first 2 weeks of the season has actually been pretty good. They held James Conner, to, I believe it was around 30-something yards, and they held Austin Eckler to 39 yards. So I think, taking away from those 2 games, I think that's the biggest thing that I can see translating into this game, being a big help. Obviously, stopping the run. The first 2 weeks, the Chiefs did good at that. Last week, we obviously struggled in the secondary because we got some injuries. We got a lot of young guys stepping up and playing. In 7th-round pick, Jalen Watson had that huge pick 6 against the Chargers to pretty much seal the deal. It was a huge win, obviously, because when you look at the AFC West, you gotta think every game that the Chiefs play against the Chargers or the Broncos, it's going to be like a playoff atmosphere game. These games are very important at the end of the day because, not everybody can make it out of the playoffs in the division, obviously. I do see 3 teams making it out possibly, but I'm not so high on the Broncos and the Raiders as I am, obviously, the Chargers. I think the Chargers are definitely the biggest threat to the Chiefs in the AFC West. Obviously, getting that early win against them at home was a big deal because then we got to go on the road against them later on down the line. So yeah, and that it was a big week, no doubt about it. A huge win.
Definitely, man. So we're looking at a Colts team that's not looking too strong right now. What do you think they'd be able to do to try to turn things around and possibly beat you guys this upcoming week?
I think the most important thing they're going to have to do is keep our offense off the field. And what I mean by that is they're going to have to run the ball, short passing game. They're going to have to, I would say, take like a play out of the Titans book. They beat us a couple years back in the regular season. They kept Patrick Mahomes off the field for a lot of that game by running the ball. Just, running 5 yards here and there, 3 or 4 yards here and there, I think will be huge for the Colts to try to keep our offense off the field. You got to establish the running game. That's been the problem with the Colts the first 2 weeks. Jonathan Taylor has not really got it going. They got to involve him more, though. I feel like last week he only had 9 carries. Maybe that was because they were down so big. They were throwing to try to catch up most of the game. Which is a thing they cannot do against the Chiefs. If you get down 14-0 against this team, you're not going to be able to establish the run game. You're going to be trying to pass to catch up, and I think will be a disaster for the Colts.
All right. So not a lot to say. I think this matchup pretty clear who you believe in most of the people is going to win the game. But is there anything you're looking at when you're thinking about the Chiefs that concerns you that could cost you the game or cost you to be in a situation where you're in a very tight, hotly debated game with this 0-2 team?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. First, we'll start with the Willie Gay suspension. He got suspended yesterday for 4 games, starting linebacker. So we're going to have to look to some younger guys like 𝐿𝐿 who is a 3rd-round pick in the draft this last year. Obviously, a rookie will be probably making his first start against the Colts. So I think that could be a little bit troubling. He is a downhill run stopper, though. So I'm not too concerned about that. But the one thing I'm most concerned about with the Chiefs is them overlooking the Colts. I'm not going to lie, because you look on to next week, they got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, primetime game, obviously Super Bowl rematch from a couple years ago, which obviously, us Chiefs fans would love to forget about that Super Bowl ever happening. But I think, if they overlook them, and I've seen the Chiefs maybe do that a couple of times in the last couple of years. They'll overlook a team that they're supposed to beat, and now they're in a highly contested game that really they should be running away with. But I think Andy Reid is going to keep them focused on the Colts. But I do worry about that a little bit, considering this is a noon game. not really a big game. I guess you could say like last week was a big game. And then next week, not necessarily a big game for standings or division or anything like that, but getting that revenge against Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I hope that the Chiefs aren't overlooking this Colts team, because you can't overlook anybody in the NFL despite their record, despite their struggles, because any given Sunday, anything can happen. Matt Ryan could go out there and surprise us all. I don't see that happening, but it could happen. No doubt.
Yep, absolutely. So, Ty, appreciate you, hopping in, taking over the Chiefs for us.
Yep.
Definitely look forward to working with you the rest of the season, man. And
Definitely.
Glad to have you on tonight. Definitely look forward for next week as well as moving forward. Make sure you hop on YouTube. Let everybody know, where they can find you.
Right. I will do that. Thank you. Have a good one.
No problem. You as well, man.
Thanks.
All right, guys, and on to one of the big matchups of the week. At least from my perspective. So we got two NFC Beast teams here matching up. We got the Philadelphia Eagles coming off a nice hot start, 2 straight wins. We got the Washington Commanders coming off of a disappointing loss, but I think to a much more difficult and better team than most people have been giving them credit for, Detroit Lions team. So we'll start with Mike here. Mike, talk to us about what you've seen from our team so far this season, and what do you think we're going to be able to take from what we've done previously and bring into this game against the Commanders?
Well, Coach, and cool. Thanks for having me on. Eagles deal. Bear with me. I was at the Ravens game Sunday, the Eagles game last night. I'm like on 4.5 hours of sleep with fumes, but hey, it was a win. That I gotta say this: Darius Slay, the Slayer, shutting down Justin Jefferson.
Big play Slay.
48 yards. I mean, hell, who the hell would have thought that? I mean, 24/7, big win going down to DC. We'll be rocking it down there this week, Coach. Actually, we're probably bringing. I know I'm coming with a team, one of our sponsors for Broad Street South, Philly Sports Trips. We're repping about 1,200 Eagles fans. I know we're going to hook up cool enough. We'll put that aside. I mean, big difference from week 1 to week 2, 38-35. The Eagles let the Lions almost hang around, fighting back, 17-point lead, just a big difference. Jalen Hurts, 330-some yards passing. Eagles almost having 500 yards total. Mixing up, distributing the ball to Dallas Goedert. Devontae Smith finally stepping up, getting 80 yards. I think, I think Gannon did answer the bell, but my thing I'm a little concerned with the Eagles is that defensive line getting pressure. I mean, technically only had 1 sack on Kirk Cousins. I mean, you got Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat in coverage. I mean, what the hell did you bring Hassan Reddick here for? The guy's had 23.5 sacks in the last 2 years. Let him get at the quarterback. I mean, obviously, Kirk Cousins, 2-10 on prime time, under the lights on Monday night, a big-time choke artist. They shut down Dalvin Cook. I mean, I just think Gannon just has to, send the house. I mean, Carson Wentz, he knows this team. They know him, and just, I think you're going to have to get to him and, keep him in the pocket. And that's just my thought.
Coach, same question for you, man. Same question for you.
First of all, y'all done? I mean, really? So, the first 2 games are very interesting. Obviously, the week 1 win, obviously with the comeback in the fourth quarter, with Carson Wentz delivering that comeback, and then also week 2 fell a little bit short. Obviously, was down 22-0 in the half, and got close within striking range, but didn't have enough gas at the end. Both of those 2 games let me know that our defense is once again atrocious. It's we're going back to kind of how we were in 2021. So it looks like, the same thing on defense, but luckily this year we do have what I deem as you guys trash, but now my treasure in Carson Wentz. So he has that ability to essentially have the big plays and do what he has to do. So I look at this matchup. I think the biggest thing for Washington is you got to limit the big plays. I mean, when you think about the big plays that we've given up in these 2 weeks, I've been terrible. Now you got, obviously guys like, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, and they're on steroids when it comes to playmaking ability. And then obviously you look at AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. Any of these guys have the knack to make a big play. So we definitely got to stop the big plays, and we essentially got to start stronger, more aggressive. And Detroit last week showed you, hey, this team cannot be down by a certain amount of points. They have to establish tempo from the jump. And I think that's essentially, and then also I think if we can take advantage of potentially getting turnovers in this game, and also Carson Wentz, and I think the biggest playmaker I think is probably going to be a Curtis Samuel. I can see him breaking out and having a good game, because even though I hate to say it like this, your boy Big Play Slay, he might take my boy Terry out the paint. So I'm looking forward to seeing Curtis Samuel having a big game this week.
Okay. So on the flip side, Couch Coach, let's start with you. What can the Eagles do to beat you guys this week?
Honestly, at this point, damn near just show up, because at this place, the way the defense is, it's to a point where it's the big plays are going to kill us. It's just the thing with them. You just strike us early. I mean, you look at Detroit. Detroit was the greatest game plan to give you, where hey, you get opportunities, essentially, get off to a great start. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, he'll have the field. Obviously, you can even look in some of our plays, and this is our first test as far as a mobile quarterback. So I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a good game in the run game and also in the passing game. So, I mean, yeah, I think at this point, unfortunately, guys probably just show up and can do a number on us.
All right, and Mike, same question for you, but opposite. What can the Commanders do to get a win against us on Sunday?
Hey, I would contain Jalen Hurts. I mean, that from 4-0 coach, if I'm correct, Chase Young's probably not back for another week, right? I know they said 4 weeks with that injury.
Yeah, I'm thinking
back when.
Yeah, they leaning maybe towards Tennessee or Chicago on the 13th of October. So either one of those. So yeah, I don't even think he'll be back for the Dallas game either. So it'll probably be Tennessee potentially in October.
I mean, as last night the Eagles gave up 3 sacks, and you got to tighten that up there. I mean, if I'm correct, I believe the Commanders got they had 4 number 1 picks on that line. And, if you contain Jalen Hurts and, shut down that offense, I mean, you could have a chance of beating the Eagles. I mean, any given Sunday, no win in this league is a given win. I mean, it's, the Eagles are 2-0. We're all hyped here in Philly, but I'll be honest, I'm a realist. Everybody's, jumping the gun. Let's pump the brakes a little. It's the cohesiveness that has to come together, and, you just got to take it week by week.
Yeah, just if I could add one little thing here in regards to the Eagles. I just feel like one thing that's been happening is we haven't had good second halves, right? Offensively. Last week defensively as well, but we haven't had either one of these games. We haven't had a good second half offensively. We hadn't put points on the board. So I think if you are, the Commanders, if you can weather the early storm, because it almost feels like the opposite of last year. Last year we always started slow. We ended up, getting a lot of points, playing a lot better in the second half. It almost looks like the opposite so far this year. So if the Commanders can weather that first half, and then we continue to not put up points or not put up enough points in the second half, then that's a way that a team that, in our division knows us very well could slide in there and give us our first L. So I think that's something that Philadelphia has to look out for, is being consistent and just continue to play hard through the second half. What do you think about that, Mike?
I mean, hey, you got to play 4 quarters of smart football. I mean, last night, neither team put points on the board. I mean, the Eagles went for the field goal, it was blocked, but
Yeah.
you can't let teams hang around. You got to keep your foot on the gas pedal. I mean, wait till the schedule gets a little stronger. It's the NFC East. It don't matter who's the best team, who's the worst team. These guys come to play Dallas, New York, Washington, Philly. It's always a war in the NFC East. It always has been.
Absolutely. So 𝐿𝐻𝐾o's going to give you the last word here, man. What's going to happen in this game and why?
All right, so in this game, I definitely think the defense is going to turn the tide in this situation. Obviously, Tad, knowing my guy Jonathan Allen, Cameron Payne, but Daron Payne, they're going to have a big impact on this defense. I think they will limit Philly's offense. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Washington is going to strike first and strike. Sam would have a commanding lead. I think Philly's going to give us a fight, but I think at the end of the day, the Washington Commanders will win this game. I have them winning by the final score of 31-28, and we'll be 2-1, and maybe we'll be up a tad in the NFC East potentially.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna appreciate you guys hopping on. Make sure you hop in the comments so everybody know where they can find you on YouTube. And we'll go ahead and hit up this next matchup we got here with the Falcons and the Seahawks. Appreciate you guys for being on. Look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you. Good luck.
All right. So we're on to the next matchup here. We have the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks.
Boy, oh boy.
So, guys, we'll start with Chris since he's the away team. Chris, talk to me about what's happened so far this year and what you can do to build on that to try to get a win this week.
Man, it's 2 weeks in, 2 close losses. And I've said this every week. They got to start fast and finish the way they start. Last week, they started off slow, and it was a little bit too much to be able to get back in the game. This week against Seattle, Seattle is coming in, and they're not the Seattle of old. I'll just say that. And it's a game that's very winnable, just like the last 2 weeks, but they have to finish. They have to start strong and finish strong. Otherwise, it's going to be 0-3, and it's going to be really hard to come back in the division going down 3 games.
Okay. And Dylan, same question for you, man.
What's your question? What are we doing?
Yep. So basically, I was asking, what do you see that your team's done the first couple of weeks of the year that they can use and build upon to try and get a win in this week 3 matchup?
It would be really helpful if the Broncos decided to trade Russell Wilson to the Falcons, so then we can hype this team up again to beat them a second time. Because apparently that's the only thing that motivated this team to do anything was to beat Russell Wilson, which I get. It's fine. Cool. Week 1 was Seattle Super Bowl. All the former players were there. Everyone was hyped up. We did a great job. And then you go into San Francisco and you just kind of okay, this is the team that's really going to be put out here this season. Fantastic. Good to know. So they just need to find the motivation that they found in week 1. Unless they're truly tanking, it's a weird vibe because I have to sit here and say how they're going to win, right? I have to see and be yeah, they need to put this together and do this well. But at the same time, you're sitting here thinking, man, does this team really even want to win? It doesn't feel like it. So it's tough. It's going to be a tough next, 15 games we got to do this?
It's one of those matchups that both teams can't lose. So it's going to be interesting. Who's going to be standing at the end of the fourth quarter? Who wants it more? Because, like I said, Atlanta they're back and forth. They need to figure something out. And Seattle, I'll tell you this. Last week, I don't think they gave too much thought with Jimmy G coming into the game. And once he came in, who's clearly the better passer than Trey Lance, and it's a completely different offense when Jimmy's back there. And I give them kudos for at least trying. But after that second series and Jimmy G comes in, it was a completely different ball game. They were outclassed.
Yeah, I don't know if like they put Geno in here. It's hard to tell if they put Geno in here as a starting role for the offense to tank, or if they really thought he was the better guy. Because if he is the better guy, then holy shit, is Drew Lock just got to be bad at football. He has to be just awful, apparently.
As someone who's followed the Broncos in the AFC West for the last few years, he is that bad.
He's just that bad.
He is that bad. It was one of those, like, Seattle's like, well, you're going to give us everybody else. And Denver's like, can we throw in Drew? Like, is it possible we take him? Like, well, I guess if you have to, like, we'll take him.
It pretty much felt like that. It's been tough for both you guys' teams so far this year. Dylan, y'all did get the big emotional win over Russ. I do feel like, and it was tough to say. I did say it after the game as well, but I felt like that was you guys like Super Bowl this year, right? Like it was like we got to win this game. If we lose the other 15, 16 games and we win this one, we're happy. Unfortunately, it definitely looks that way. So kind of tough, man, because you kind of, I mean, especially for me, man, I like to see competitive football, but I think that you guys are going to have a competitive game in just the sense of, I think your two teams are kind of in that same skill level right now, right? So I think it should be a good matchup. So we'll end it this way. I'll start with you, Dylan. Chris, I'll ask you the same question. So Dylan, what can the Falcons do to win this game? And then Chris, you'll be answering the question from the standpoint of what can the Seahawks do to win this game. So Dylan, we'll start with you.
The Falcons' best chance is to finally realize that Kyle Pitts is still on your team. Use him and also Drake London and just use and abuse the rookie corners. We got Kobe Bryant out there. He's looked bad. Tariq Woolen has had moments. He's had flashes, but he still has penalties. So he's not great. So if Kyle Pitts gets physical with him, Drake London gets physical with him, I mean, y'all could rack up 300 yards of just pass interference penalties on the Seahawks if you just go right at those corners.
As far as Seattle, they have to contain that run pass option. Contain Cordero Patterson, keep him in check. So far, Kyle Pitts has been MIA. I don't know if that's just him or the play calling or a little bit of both. But if he finally gets going, that's going to be a game changer for this whole entire matchup. But the biggest thing is not letting Cordero Patterson run all over you guys. And I think if they can limit that, they have a chance to keep it low scoring. And Seattle has that type of defense and that type of mindset that they can win low scoring games. But if Atlanta gets out and puts up 4 touchdowns, it's going to be hard to keep pace.
I don't imagine a world where Seattle has the ability to score 4 touchdowns. If they do it once this year, I'll buy a Geno Smith jersey. I don't even think they can.
I will say this, Dylan. I definitely agree with your thoughts on the team. I have Kyle Pitts in fantasy in one of my leagues, and I must say that I have not been seeing or reaping any rewards as of yet from that. It is what it is. Not gonna cry about it, but I will say, I think this is going to be a good game. This is going to be, I think, one of the more competitive games, and I'm actually excited to see it.
It'll be just two teams just slapping each other in the face, and some one way or the other. I don't want to call it a toilet bowl thing in week 3, but at the end of the day, it's hard to pick a winner in this matchup. What you're really looking for is who's going to be the loser. Which team is really actually trying to lose? Because at least one of them, like whether it's the Falcons that think like, yeah, we need one more year to get a draft pick, or like it's the Seahawks where it's like, well, we have the Broncos pick and our own pick. If we can like stay low and draft early, this is the year to do it. It's just who's going to be the dummy to just throw the game away and do something stupid and be like, there's the play that, the Seahawks or the Falcons did. It's like, yeah, that proves they're tanking. They wanted to lose this.
What's going to hurt Atlanta is that they have had the ability to put up points. They've averaged 20, 25, 26 points a game the last 2 weeks. And it's just that, again, it's that closing out the game, not being able to hold on to those leads or even be able to just be competitive in the second half. And as soon as they realize, or Arthur Smith realizes he has a matchup nightmare in Kyle Pitts, like you can't put a linebacker on him. You can't put a safety or a corner on him. This guy's a beast. And you have to be able to utilize that anywhere on the field, especially in the red zone. And as soon as he realized that they're winning games, it's just how long it's going to take for them to get to that, or if they want to.
Definitely, guys. Well, appreciate both of you guys being able to hop on this week. Definitely look forward to seeing you the rest of the season and next week. Definitely make sure you hop on YouTube. Let everybody know where they can find you. And appreciate you guys again.
Thank you.
See you next
Can't
week.
wait for next week.
Absolutely. All right. Now we're going to hop into our next to last matchup. We have the San Francisco 49ers against the Denver Broncos. So we got two teams that are in interesting position as far as being not wanting to fall too far behind, right? As far as, wins and losses early in the season. One team has had to go to their probably better quarterback, who's their backup, and the other team has the big free agent pickup that the coach seems to want to do things that don't benefit him that well. So this will be an interesting matchup. So we'll start with you, Steven. Talk to us about this matchup, about what you've seen from San Francisco so far, and what do you think they'll be able to do to try to get a win this week?
Yeah, man, it's interesting because going into week 3, we really don't still know exactly who the 49ers are.
Mm-hmm.
But yet we kind of actually know more about what to expect from them than we did previously. Because, week 1, the rain-soaked game in Chicago. Week 2, played a really bad Seattle team. So I don't necessarily know that we learned anything that we can take forward about this team from those two things. So far, the interior offensive lines held up decently. Played a little bit better than I expected them to. Hopefully that continues. But we know what the formula is under Jimmy Garoppolo. Run the football. Play defense. And that's the one thing that this team, outside of 2 blown coverages against Chicago, this defense has played at an elite level. So they're going to continue to play elite level defense. They're going to run the football. They're going to ask Jimmy to make just enough throws to get the game to go get the win. And it's a formula that has worked for them. They've gone to a Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game with it.
Makes sense. Ian, same question for you.
Oh, Lord. Well, I talked about this on one of the podcasts I did with my class earlier, and we're all literally sitting here with either heartburn, fear, indigestion. I don't know what you want to call it, because we were hoping to see Trey Lance and not Jimmy G, because we all know what Jimmy G can do. I think they said, he was like 34-14 as a starter for you guys or something like that.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's something ridiculous like that. In San Francisco, kind of like what Steven was mentioning, they have the formula to beat us. Run the ball down our throats, play defense, because our run defense has still been a little bit suspect. Now, granted, I think we shored it up a little bit more. Sorry about that. Wow, I just lost my voice for a second. But obviously, with Dameon Pierce, we locked it up a little bit more, which was nice to see, but it still took us a little bit to get the ball rolling. There's still way too many offensive miscues, especially with our game management. I don't know if you guys caught the game, but it was to the point where us in the stands, we were counting down the play clock to help prevent more delay of games. So there's a whole situation going on with that. Offensive play calling, just trust issues. It's growing pains, and unfortunately, with San Francisco being in the position they're in, where they have legitimately the best backup in the world, which should honestly have stayed the starter, coming back, it's a very tricky game. It really is, especially with Pat Surtain II still being questionable with his shoulder injury. KJ Hamler being questionable with his injury. We might finally get our inside linebacker back finally this week. We might get a guard back this week. Our other guard's going to be out. So there's just so many questions. And, with San Francisco coming in rolling high, when they already know how to play with Jimmy G, God, I want to have faith in my team. But if you ask me to flip a quarter, whatever side it lands on, I would literally call this a 50-50 split game.
Well, I'll say this. For me, I need Jeff Wilson to have a good game, and I need Courtland Sutton to have a good game. So whoever wins or loses, that's what my fantasy teams need.
Well, who knows, man? We just signed Marlon Mack off the practice squad onto the active roster. Kyle Shanahan might bring him in and get him 25 carries this week. Who knows?
Yeah, we don't want any of that negative juju floating around. So let's not do that, guys. But no, I probably won't be starting Jeff Wilson for real because I know about the 49ers and how they do their running back by stable and whoever fits the whims of the coaches that week. So we'll start back with you, Steven. Tell me, what do you think the Denver Broncos can do to beat you this week?
Well, I think the big question with the Broncos right now is how good is their defense? They're, I think, first against the pass, fourth against the run, but you have played a Seattle team that we just beat the brakes off of and a Houston team that is obviously not a great team either. So we still don't really know how good that defense is. But what they have to do is show that those rankings are not just because they play two bad teams. They have to be able to show that they can actually stop our run game. When you actually look at our run game right now, Davis Price is out a few weeks. Elijah Mitchell's out for the season. So you're basically rolling with Jeff Wilson, an undrafted running back, and Marlon Mack, who just come off the practice squad. So there is opportunity there to slow our run game down. Trey Lance is a guy, if he was in there, gives you more options offensively. The downside with Jimmy is if you're not running the ball effectively, it might be more difficult for Jimmy to go out there and beat you with his arm. He can do it. He's had a couple of times where he's done it, but it's not his MO. It's not his thing. So that's, to me, they have to prove, especially up front, that they can stop the run effectively, and that will put them in a great position to win it.
All right, makes sense. Same thing, Ian.
Yeah, I mean, really just kind of piggybacking off of what Steven had mentioned earlier, just getting that run game absolutely going. DJ Jones, he's definitely been a good plug, and I know that we got him from you guys over there in San Francisco. He's been good. It's just a matter of, it's going to be a war of attrition in the lines. It's just going to really come down to, can San Francisco get the stops, because Javonte Williams, he's running like a madman. He's running at a good 5.4 yards a clip right now, so I really don't understand why Denver's running away from that. But, I mean, if you can neutralize the run game, pressure Russell Wilson, make him run to his left, that's always been his weaker side, because when he runs to his right, he's accurate as all heck. But you get him out to his left, he starts kind of overthinking it. But I really think that this is going to be a great test between two teams that, to be fair, I don't think either of us have really played a solid team this year, even though we've both played Seattle. You guys played Chicago week 1 in the monsoon. We just got done playing Houston. So I think this is going to really be like the first true test of both offenses, both defenses, trying to see where we truly gauge this early in the season.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me. Excited for this game, actually, because I think it's going to be, like you said, a good, solid matchup between two really solid teams. And we'll know a lot more about both teams after this matchup. So, guys, definitely appreciate you both being able to hop on, and talk a little football with us today. Look forward to having you both back on for the rest of the season. Just make sure you hop on YouTube, let everybody know where they can find you.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
And
let's ride.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, guys.
Of course.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have making his debut here on the NFL Matchup Madness, Mr. Douglas Lewis Brooks. So Douglas, appreciate you hopping on, man. Appreciate you taking over. This guy. Appreciate you taking over the Dallas Cowboys here. And a lot going on with the Dallas Cowboys, right? We got an injury to one of the prominent players, I believe you guys, quarterback. You got a backup, came in last week, had a pretty solid week. So talk to us about what you guys have been able to do so far this year and what you think you could take from these first two games. Obviously focusing on the second game because your quarterback, Cooper Rush, has played their second game, and try to use that in this matchup here on Monday Night Football, the primetime matchup with the New York Football Giants, who right now are 2-0.
Well, it's good that they are 2-0 because we get to bust their bubble. It's just the bottom line. So let's go ahead and get that straight. First game, we ran into a buzzsaw. Bottom line, the defense of the Buccaneers is well documented. With Dak playing, we didn't look good. Of course, when he got hurt, we looked worse. And a lot of that had to do with play calling from Kellen Moore, which led us to believe that when Dak went out, go to running the ball. One of your best players is out, so now you got to put the ball in the hands of the other best players, which pretty much is Ezekiel and Tony Pollard. CeeDee Lamb is there, but you got the backup quarterback. You don't want to put the ball game in his hands, which leads to last week. The first half, we played like you're supposed to play, if you're asking me, with a backup quarterback who was efficient. We set the tone with him running the football as everybody said that we would. Ezekiel Elliott had 12 carries in the first half. Tony Pollard, I believe, had maybe about 5 or 6, which is good. That means you purposely tried to run the football. Unfortunately for us in the second half, Kellen Moore turned back into Kellen Moore because Ezekiel Elliott only ended up with 15 carries. He had 12 in the first half, which means he only ran the ball 3 times. In the second half, Pollard, same thing, a decrease in his carries. That's not the way that we are supposed to play. Yeah, we won the game. I believe it was because of the tone that we set as far as offensively goes, and we just survived, which is what I think would happen. They made a comeback. However, on the other side of the ball, defensively, we were flat out smothering. This defense that we have is going to be what's going to carry us through pretty much the whole year, but especially now. While Dak is down, we are going to have to play lights out defense in order for us to win. So which leads now to the Giants real quick. They're actually playing the same game that we are. Both teams have to establish the run. They have Saquon, of course. They hope to get him off. We have Ezekiel and Tony Pollard. We have to get them off. It's really just that simple. It's a old-fashioned NFC East win in the trenches matchup. We don't trust Cooper Rush, and I'm quite sure most Giant fans don't trust Daniel Jones. You don't want the ball. You don't want the ball in his hands saying carry us through, just like we don't want Cooper Rush to say the same thing. So the truth of the matter is we're really playing the same game. The Cowboys, I believe, are ranked 6th in defense. I believe the Giants are ranked in the top 12, if I'm not mistaken, in defense. Both offenses are in their 20s. I think the Cowboys are ranked 21st, and I believe the Giants are ranked 21st, and the Cowboys are ranked 25th. So it's obvious what has to happen. We got to play the strong defense. We got to run the football. Whoever runs the ball efficiently, that's who's probably going to win this game.
Yeah, definitely agree with that, man. You know, I had a theory coming into the season. I think you guys obviously have a lame duck coach. If he doesn't get something done this year, I think if Sean Payton becomes available or they're able to make, some type of agreement with New Orleans to grab him, I know it's pretty common knowledge that he's been the apple of Jerry Jones' eye for a couple of years. But I think on the other hand, with the Giants, bringing in Dabo has been a very wise move. He's a guy who did a lot to help Josh Allen get to where he's at. And I think he's having some of the same effect on Daniel Jones. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that Daniel Jones has anywhere near the same talent level as Josh Allen, or at least he hasn't shown it yet. But I think that having this head coach is something, and the staff that he put together is something that's going to really help Daniel Jones at least be able to continue with the NFL career after this year, whether it be with the Giants or whether it be somewhere else, because I think the toolage he's going to get is going to make him better than what he's had, prior to that. So what are your thoughts on who you think? Obviously, this is a lot of projections because we're in week 2. Do you think Dabo's going to have enough of an effect to make the Giants a pretty solid team? And are you of the mindset that this is at least win the playoff game, or you guys are going to be looking for another coach next year for the Cowboys?
Dabo is going to do the same thing that he did with Josh Allen.
Okay.
One of the problems with Daniel Jones was that they always had route concepts that was time consuming as far as drop backs, 5-step drops, 7-step drop backs, 7-step drop. With Dabo there, the ball is going to come out quick. And that's what we've seen from the Giants so far, which is probably the way that you're going to probably be most effective against the Cowboys, at least because we're coming. It's no question. Parsons, Lawrence, Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler, they're going to get there if you're trying to pat the ball. We're going to get you. So you're gonna have to get rid of the ball. That's what Dabo has brought to the game so far. Better than what previous Jason Garrett and all those guys did. So Daniel should be better, but the question is it going to be good enough? Because, like I said, I don't think nobody can stop Michael Parsons, and it's not just being a homer. It's just the fact that this dude is just flat out different. It ain't no question about that. He's a different dude. Now, as far as the Cowboys go, you're an Eagle fan, so really we got a problem right from the start, just looking at the hat that you got on, but you understand, I get it. We're going to let that ride. But I'm going to give you a pushback on the coach, and, I agree with you 100% that Coach McCarthy is going to be, he's going to have to do something spectacular to keep his job. And I'm saying at least NFC Championship game. I'm one of the ones that have said that if he got off to a slow start, that he may not make it to the bye week. That's how strong I feel about it, because it'd be just too much pressure from the media, the fans, everything else. I don't think he'll make it past the bye week if we get off to a slow start. I don't think that it will be Sean Payton. I've said this on my show. I believe that the next head coach, if there is one, would be Dan Quinn. I don't think, because the only reason I'm saying is because Sean Payton will come. He's earned the right to come to an organization demanding power. And the kind of power that he wants is the kind of power that Jerry Jones would not give up. He wants to be in charge. Jerry Jones is not letting go of any power whatsoever. So I don't believe that that's going to happen. I believe that Dan Quinn has earned the locker room. The guys will run through a wall for him. I believe Dan Quinn is a player's coach. Dan Quinn's resume speaks for itself. He got a ring on his finger, been to another 2 Super Bowls two Super Bowls as a defensive coordinator, and he's been one there as a head coach. So the resume is there. And then also, he's not a puppet. Well, Sean Payton will come in not being a puppet. He's just not going to do that. Dan Quinn is really not a puppet either, but even if he is one, he's a puppet that can flat out coach. So there's the difference with him. So I don't think it'll be Sean Payton at all. And Jerry Jones will not let Dan Quinn out of that building, if you ask me, because Michael Parsons needs him for his career to keep going like it's going. You don't want to switch defensive coordinators. You know, if Michael Parsons has this amount of sacks faster than any player in history in amount of 17 games or whatever games he played, you're going to do your best to keep that coordinator there just because he knows what to do with Michael Parsons. So I don't think it'll be Sean Payton at all. I think it's going to be Dan Quinn. That's just my opinion, though.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And here's the thing. So, yeah, I definitely see that I have to stare at that the Cowboys jersey while we're talking here. But here's the thing.
All right. You'll be all right.
Here's the important thing that I want to say. Us, y'all, the Giants, and the Commanders, we have a duty to each other for the next few years to whoop a lot of hind parts. Because you got these divisions, and I'm going to single out what I think is the worst division it has been for the past 10 plus years, except for the one bad year we had, which is the NFC North. They want to try to say that the NFC East is not what it used to be.
I disagree with you on that. I say the worst division has been the AFC East. I mean, other than the Patriots when Brady was there, who else was there? Nobody.
Now,
the Dolphins weren't nobody. The Bills weren't nobody. Whoever else is in that division, I forgot. The AFC East is nobody.
Well, I'll say this. I feel as though they're both worse than us.
Yeah.
But the thing with the North with the NFC North for me is they don't have anybody but the Packers that has had more than one sustained year of success.
Yeah.
Since Brett Favre.
Yeah.
So they're quick to say, oh, NFC East is the worst because they want people to forget about how truly one team and wretched that division has been.
Yeah.
If you take Green Bay out of that division, they probably don't sniff the playoffs in forever.
Yeah.
So I think for me, they're a little bit worse than the AFC East, but do not get me wrong. You have a very solid argument.
Let me throw where I didn't throw in the last time because I wasn't thinking, but I'm saying look at the AFC East all the years Brady was there. The Patriots, the Bills were nobody. The Jets were nobody.
Nobody.
Okay, and then you had the Jets, Bills, and the Dolphins were nobody. So that's the reason why the Patriots won all those years, because when you look at the Patriots, they'll win 12, 13 games. Second place will only have 6.
Yep.
I mean, that's the way it was forever. It
You're
wasn't
not wrong.
and the North was horrible too, but the Bears threw in a few. I'm saying the Bears threw in a couple good seasons during those years, but the AFC East was just a cakewalk. If it's kind of the same way they used to talk about LeBron with Cleveland. Like, really, you know what I'm saying? Like nobody else was in the East. Well, there was nobody in the East when Brady was running the East, AFC East at all. Period.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's just,
I mean, I think we both agree that these are two divisions who are worse than ours. But like I say, unless you're playing against me, right?
Yeah.
I want everybody to win because I am tired.
We
trying to run around here and disrespect this division because I mean, there's been some bad years. We just won the Super Bowl 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We've had all of our teams have been at some point or another competitive, right? We've all won a division recently. You take out the bad year, you still have a lot of quality football that you've gotten from at least 2 of the teams out of the division most years. So I just want to let that be known. AFC East, NFC North, you're already worse than us, but we're coming for some of those that's on the same level, really, but don't want to admit it.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of hind parts whooped by teams out of the NFC East this year, and don't be surprised when it happens.
No doubt. I agree with you 100%, but let me get my quarterback back. Right now, we're in the mode of just saying, hey, any win is a bonus for us. We're not favored in no games the next 4 to 5 weeks. So until Dak gets back, we're just trying to survive until he comes back.
Understandable, but I tell you this, you don't have to be favored to win, right?
No.
You don't have to be favored to win.
That's proven by last week.
Absolutely, and you took the words out of my mouth. So I mean, I enjoyed seeing you guys come out and do what you needed to do and get that win for the division, right? I'm about to start treating it like the SEC. I'm about to be like the SEC,
Yeah.
for the division. So glad you guys got the win. Glad the Giants got the win. I knew the Commanders would let us down because their quarterback, he just he's just
They're next on the list right after we finish with the Giants. So I'm looking for just in case those guys that the Washington Commanders. I saw the guy up here earlier. Y'all on deck. Y'all on deck.
Yeah, they'll be limping into that game after what's going to happen to them on Sunday, though. They'll be limping into that. Yeah. Well, Douglas, man, I appreciate you hopping on. Look forward to working with you, man.
Appreciate the opportunity, man.
Oh, no problem. Definitely see you next week, man. And don't forget to just hop in, on the YouTube and let everybody know where they can find you.
They're about to leave now. I'm the last one. So.
Well, we got one more. We got one more.
Oh, you got one more. Okay,
we got one more, and then we're gonna get some replay views as well. So trust me, it's always good to leave that info.
Well, since they replaying, whatever day you're watching this, as I leave, I remain constant. Whenever you see me or the Big Time Show, which is my show, always remember this: the crowd goes wild.
I love it, man. I love it. All right, so we're waiting for our last guy for the last matchup. This is a perfect opportunity because we did have a game earlier that was not actually able to get the rep on for. I can quickly talk about here while we're getting everything set up here. And that's going to be the Bengals and the Jets. So for the Bengals in this game, I think we're looking at a team who's on the ropes. They've lost some games they definitely shouldn't have lost. We're looking at a Jets team who play better, but still, they have some growing pains. If I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, this is the perfect time to have this Jets game in the schedule. This is a game that they should be able to win. The Jets have a pretty solid defense, but if the Bengals can just block for Joe Burrow, like the thing is exactly what we were saying last year before they went on the run and made it all the way to the Super Bowl. You have to block for your quarterback. If they block for that man and give him time, he's got playmakers. He's got a running back and a backup running back to the solid. He's got 3 very good receivers. But he has to have time to allow the routes to play. He can't get the ball, look up, and there's already defense in his face. And he's already getting slammed around. So, for me, this is the week for Cincinnati to turn it around. This Jets team is probably going to actually give them a fight, I think. But I believe Cincinnati is going to be the team that's going to be able to go ahead and pull out that win this week. So, that's my quick thoughts on that game. Looks like my guy may not be here yet. So this is for the Texans and the Bears. So I'll go ahead and get things started here with the Texans and the Bears. If he's able to hop on, and we'll get a few words from him. If not, we'll go ahead and end things after I give you a few thoughts here. So the Texans, I think you got the tie the first week. That could actually be a good thing long term versus having a loss down the road, depending on how things go in the division. So it's always, something to think about. A lot of teams with the ties have went on to use that as something because this ends up being one less loss that they have than some of the other teams. Then when we look at, their opponent, the Bears had a good game, and the Bears got smacked around by Green Bay. But it's been said a long time that, Green Bay owns the Bears. Aaron Rodgers owns the Bears. So those things are not a surprise. But when we're looking at, the matchup, you're thinking about the Texans. Davis Mills is a solid quarterback. He's not a great guy, but he's a guy that can move the ball. He's got some weapons to get the ball too. He's got some things that he can do to help win a game. Justin Fields, situation, he's learning, but he has that ability to be the dual threat. What we've seen with all the teams that have that dual threat quarterback, when you get in some of those situations where there's really not a lot of reads, defense is bearing down on you, they have the ability to take off and get that first down. They have the ability to add that extra piece that you have to watch out for, something else you have to plan for them. So I think looking at the matchup, if I were picking between the two teams, I would lean with Chicago. But I would not be surprised in this game if the Texans were able to pull it out. I think it's that close of a game. But obviously, I'm not expecting another tie. So I'm going to roll with, Chicago in a tight game from that perspective of just, where they're at development-wise, different players, positions that are needed, and things that need to be a little bit better for those teams to succeed. So we're going to go ahead here and close up shop for the week. Appreciate everybody that came on. Appreciate everybody that watches. Make sure you're here next week. If you're watching the replay of the show, definitely appreciate you hopping in and watching the replay. I know it shows a little bit of link to it, but hey, we're covering every team every week, so that's a lot. It takes a little bit of time. So, guys, again, appreciate everyone watching the show. Appreciate everyone that watches the replay. Appreciate everyone that contributes as part of the show. And we'll look forward to doing this again next week. And with that, we're going to roll up out of here. NFL Matchup Madness Week 3, out of here.